I've told you before that Americans are flushing babies down the toilet because the abortion pill is now responsible for 63% of the abortions done in America. I've been telling you that the American sewage system has become the abortion industry's disposal system. We've done whole episodes on this Nazi-esque era sort of RU486 abortion pill and how it's been used by the overpopulationists, by the eugenicists, and by the abortion industry today to create a cheap to manufacture and sell at high margins abortion pill and ship it into pro-life states that have banned abortion. It's disgusting. It's evil. You know the history behind it. But we need to hear the stories of families and women who have helped kill their babies and now regret it, feel that they were lied to, manipulated, have repented, have taken responsibility, and now are being used as a healed, freed voice by the Lord to warn men and women, to warn families not to do this. We welcome to the show today our friend Victoria Robinson from Reassemble Life. She does retreats helping men and women and couples heal from abortions and now be used as a bold voice for life and do the hard work at days-long retreats to actually get healed and be ready to be a voice for life and tell their story. Victoria joins the show today with her friend Heidi to tell a very brutal story of what is actually happening to American unborn babies who are being aborted through the abortion pill and flushed down toilets. This is not an easy episode to listen to, but someone has to begin telling the truth, amen? We will tell the truth on this show, and we will encourage, platform, fund, celebrate, and get behind people who are willing to tell the truth as well, because the other side has no problem proclaiming lies that they masquerade as mercy and compassion, and doing it with more gusto and zeal than most believers and pro-lifers have for the truth, which we can back up. Welcoming to the show today, Victoria Robinson and Heidi, to tell the story of the babies who are being flushed down the toilets of America because of legalized abortion. Share this episode with a pro-choice friend. Let's change minds today. Let's change hearts. And maybe this episode will even maybe save some lives. Welcome to the Seth Gruber Show. Victoria, Heidi, welcome to the show today. Thank you guys for joining the Seth Gruber Show to talk about just the horrors of what is happening in the abortion industry, and especially with the abortion industry's tripling down targeting of mothers and unborn babies through the abortion pill. Victoria, you've been on this show before. You're a beloved guest of this show with what you're doing with Reassemble, to put the pieces back together of post-abortive men and women, right? We leave the fathers out of this way too much, because I've long said this, and I know you agree. If we can provide healing and redemption and freedom to the millions of post-abortive men and women in America, and that ought to be coming from the church, which is why you're such a powerful voice of the church. This could be one of the secret redemptive backdoor entrances to ending abortion, when millions of healed mothers and fathers, rather than being silenced because of the silence of their pastors or the shame and condemnation, are now the boldest voices for our unborn neighbors, and really the family in America. Why are you guys on the Seth Gruber Show today?
Well, first of all, Seth, thank you for having me again. I always love doing anything that partners with you. I have such a high regard and respect for you and what you're doing. I'm proud to call you a friend and a colleague. What you said is absolutely true, Seth. And I believe abortion recovery from the trauma of choosing abortion is the backdoor approach to making abortion unthinkable in this country. When people understand that it doesn't just destroy an unborn baby, it destroys part of that baby's parents. And that's why when people are healed, they can speak out, Seth, because their identity is no longer in their abortion, but it's in Christ. through a ministry like mine, like Reassemble, because that's what we offer and teach people, is that God forgives all sin, including the sin of your abortion. And that is when people are starting to speak out and say, let me tell you why it's a lie. This is how it almost destroyed me. They told me it wouldn't hurt me at all, and that was not true. So that's why I think abortion recovery is paramount to this fight, Seth, because we have, as you said, multi millions, tens of millions of men and women that would speak out if they didn't walk in the shame of choosing abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, amen, Victoria. So, Heidi, you're on the show today because I love and trust Victoria, and we're ministry partners, and we'll be doing more together in the kind of post Roe v. Wade, right? The overturning of Roe v. Wade, this new sort of season of the pro-life movement, which is really the beginning of the pro-life movement, by the way. The overturning of Roe v. Wade was really the beginning of the pro-life movement. This ain't your grandpapa's pro-life movement, and we're going to have an awakening, I think, of new leadership, new ministries, and new leaders in this season. And we're seeing a lot of capitulation. But that's not the point of this show today. The point is we want to get the truth out about what's happening in America. We have 63% of abortions last year in 2023 was the abortion pill. 63% of the unborn babies that were killed in 2023, it wasn't surgical abortions. It wasn't like a suction catheter tube. It was the RU486 abortion pill, which they're actually shipping into pro-life states that have virtually banned abortion illegally. I talk about this a lot on the show. My listeners who are about to hear your story as well, Heidi, are not new to this conversation. We know that abortion pill producers are illegally breaking state law in Tennessee, in Idaho, in Texas, and other states by shipping this illegal pill into pro-life states. And they're not even confirming the gestational age of the unborn child, how far along the mom is. Of course, they're not confirming often the age. And so pimps and traffickers can pose as women and get the abortion pill for their sex workers. I mean, the whole thing is a nightmare. But for the abortion industry, they can produce this really cheap to manufacture and sell at high margin abortion pill. This was always where they were trying to take the abortion industry. Heidi, you've been brave enough to actually want to come and tell your story with Victoria today on my show to warn people, to tell them what's going on. I just want to tell you, I appreciate you having the courage and bravery to share your story. That's not easy. That is, most people would not do it, actually, and I think you know that. So, I just want to honor you and bless you and thank you for being willing to share this. Why don't you start wherever you'd like to, but we just want people to hear from you what's going on. Wake them up. Get them to speak out. Get them to vote the right way. Get them to warn people. Get other people who are about to hear your story healed. There's going to be fruit from this conversation today. Why don't you start with wherever you'd like to, Heidi?
Yeah. Thanks, Seth, for having us on here. It really is an honor, and it is a difficult topic. It's a difficult conversation. It's difficult to share my story. I'm not too far removed from my journey with abortion. But I do feel this calling that, if someone can hear something from me that will help them make a different decision, all the glory goes to God. So my story, I will rewind back to October of 2021. I had my abortion, over the course of 2 days with the abortion pill, October 16th and 17th of 2021. So here we are almost 3 years later, and it's been a journey to get here. There's a lot of lies told to you up front, and there's a lot of healing that needs to be happening on the back end that nobody tells you about. So, the day I went in for my abortion, so I found out I was, of course, pregnant, and then the decision was made that I would move forward with abortion. I feel like I'm a pretty smart person, but when it came to abortion, I really was kind of middle of the road. I didn't really go one way or the other. I really didn't, I guess, fully understand, which is kind of crazy. And it feels really naive for me to say that. But it's just what the reality was. And I think when you're in a position of a lot of fear, as much research as I did, it's almost like looking back now. Obviously, I wish I knew, I wish I knew then what I knew now, but it just wasn't the reality. And so I did some research on abortion, which even saying that is like, you just, it like, now it's just like, And so I did some research, and I decided, not even being a medical professional or knowing anything really about this, I was like, well, that seems like, the abortion pill seems like the way to do it. And so really it's as simple as you make an appointment, and they're like, come in at 8, plan to be here till about 5. It's an all-day affair, basically. Yeah. And so I went to a clinic in Atlanta, and again, not really knowing what to expect. You feel miserable. I mean, even up until the day, you're like, it's a conviction in your soul, and it doesn't feel right. Like, this is, like Victoria said, like, mothers are not intended to do this, right? And so there is a deep conviction in your soul. But
Yep.
again, that fear and the trauma of kind of where you're at in that situation really does override your brain. Like, you're just kind of going on autopilot. And so, or at least I was.
Did you go to a Planned Parenthood or to a private abortion chain?
It wasn't Planned Parenthood. I don't remember the name. It was in Atlanta. I honestly don't remember the name. And I was fully expecting like there to be people outside picketing and stuff. There wasn't. Nobody was outside. You literally get there at 8 a.m. and you check in. And when I tell you, there was probably, there's first of all like a line basically out the door of women on the day that you're scheduled. And it's a room full of women, probably at least 20, 25. No, like, not exaggerating, like that's just the reality. And I was like, what is going on? And so you check in, everyone's miserable. It's a very cold environment, but then on the walls, it's spooky. It's like all this like, pro-choice things on the wall, and excuse me. So you sit there and you wait. It's like cattle corralled in one room. And so the first thing they do, they call you up to, do a questionnaire, but then they ask about, like, they collect your payment right out the gate. Nothing has even been done. You haven't even seen a doctor. Are you pregnant? Are you confirmed pregnant? They don't even know. They just take your money up front. You go back and you sit and you wait. And it's a long waiting game. The next thing they do, they call you back and they like make sure your iron's okay. They do an ultrasound. They don't let you see the screen. They ask if you want to hear like the heartbeat. And that's when they tell you how far along you are. This was pretty devastating for me. What they told me was 11 weeks, 6 days. So basically 12 weeks. And from what I had read online about the abortion pill was like, it should go up to like 9, right? Like that should be the cutoff. So now I'm, kind of panicked. Like, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't even know. Like, it's like a blur really. And so, they tell you that, get back out and wait. And so then the next kind of step is they ask if you want to do like individual counseling or a group. And I was like, well, I can be in a group with a few other women. So it was me and a couple of other women who are also doing the abortion pill. And now, mind you, in the meantime, like people are getting called back for abortion procedures. So they're both happening at the same time. And so you get called back, and really it's like a counselor. It's a group setting. And she's basically like, so what's going to happen is you're going to take the first dose of the medication here at the clinic. 24 hours from now, you're going to take the second dose. And then you're going to have basically like what they describe as like a menstrual cycle. You're going to have a menstrual cycle. It's going to be pretty painless. It's going to feel like cramping, and you're going to, you'll take a pregnancy test in a few days, and then basically life goes on as normal. That's literally what they're telling you. And so in your head, you're like, well, clearly I've been through this. Like I can handle this. So with the other women that were getting the pill, they basically, they're going to send you home with a brown paper bag, truly a brown paper bag of these pills, and you'll be on your way. So my gal held me after, and she said, look, I just want you to know, because of how far along you are, we're going to actually give you 2 doses of the pills to take tomorrow.
Wow.
And I was like, again, naive. I'm like, okay, well, is it safe? Is it going to work? Like, I don't know. I don't have a clue, right? Am I going to hemorrhage out? Like, I have no idea. And so I'm like, okay, right? Okay. Like, what am I going to say in that moment? And um, so then again, you go back, you sit out in this waiting room, you literally wait for hours, hours. Now, one time have I seen a doctor. And so after
Wow.
several hours of just waiting, they literally, all the people that are taking the first pill, they bring you into the hallway. We don't even go into any type of room. We're all in the hallway in chairs. And the doctor, who's clearly coming out of a abortion procedure in her scrubs and like she's suited up for surgery, comes out and she says, okay, this is the
Right.
deal. You're going to take this pill 24 hours from now. You're going to take the next set of pills. And that's it. She hands us all the pills.
So they knew. So they knew that you were past 10 weeks.
They knew.
They knew that.
They knew. And I was so sick. I asked to see a nurse because I needed some Zofran. And I had asked her, I said, they told me I was 11 days, 6 weeks. Like, am I going to be okay? Like, I asked her in private and she said, you should be fine. Okay.
Wow.
So these are medical professionals that are telling me this. And so again, I don't know what I don't know. And so I'm just like, all right. So they give you the little Dixie cup of water. You take the pill. Okay. The first pill at the clinic. And that's it. So, but mind you, this is over the course of 8 hours. So you're sitting there just like.
So you were sitting there waiting to take the pill.
For hours.
Yeah.
For hours.
Yeah. And so as many people who listen to this show know, Heidi, and I'm sure you now know as well, the FDA has actually only even approved the RU46 abortion pill through 10 weeks. A few years ago, it used to be 8 weeks. And there are Democrats right now actually trying to push it to 11 or 12 weeks, which is the entire first trimester, as you well know. So according to what you're saying right now, what they did was actually illegal.
Right.
They would not have been allowed to prescribe or hand out the abortion pill past 10 weeks. But okay, so you take mifepristone or Mifeprex, the first regimen of the abortion pill. You go home, which is what they do. They tell young women to go home, take the second pill 24 to 48 hours later, and go ahead and continue, Heidi.
Yeah, so you leave truly with a brown lunch paper bag with your medications. And like I said, I had a double dose. So I had 2 big green bottles of these pills. They send you home with some ibuprofen 800 and then a pregnancy test. That's what you go home with. Goodbye. Let us know, basically, if you need anything. So yeah, you go home. I mean, all is really quite normal, those 24 hours. So the next day comes and that's when you take, it's literally 24 hours, like almost to the hour you need to take that pill. And so you can take it orally or insert it, vaginally. And so I was instructed to take those first set of pills and wait a couple of hours before I took the same medication just a few hours later, the double dose. And so that's what I did. I did what was instructed of me. And so then it's a waiting game. Like it truly is a waiting game. And this is the part that this is where I feel like the lie really was this second part of the journey, which they do not prepare you for. They do not tell the truth about this. Your body truly goes into labor. Like you are like actively in labor, having like contractions, like on my hands and knees, like in pain, ibuprofen, not cutting it. You're literally in active labor. And I've never had a child before. So I wasn't really expecting that. I'm expecting period cramps, not labor. And so you wait out the pain. It's pretty unbearable. And then it had to be maybe 3 hours of that. And then obviously your body knows what to do, right? And so for me, like I went into the bathroom because I felt like I obviously had a horrible stomach ache. And that's like when I passed my baby. And now, mind you, I'm thinking based on what I was told 24 hours prior, it's going to be tissue. You're not going to see anything, right? Like it's literally going to be like you're having a menstrual cycle. That is not the reality. The reality is I saw my 12-week-old baby in the toilet. And that's when it was like, first of all, I got physically ill. Yeah. I started vomiting because of this trauma that I now have experienced. And it's really like nothing you can prepare for, in at all. Like it's nothing like they tell you. It's nothing that you would expect. And it's traumatizing. I can only talk about it now because I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of trauma work around this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
devastating.
Obviously.
It's devastating.
So it wasn't a blob
Yep.
of tissue, was
It wasn't a blob of tissue. It's a 12-week fetus. It has arms, it has fingers, it has toes, legs, lungs, eyes, head. Like, it's a baby.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I mean, for me, I was just paralyzed, like completely paralyzed in that moment. And it's also terrifying that, like, I could have hemorrhaged out. Like, there's so many risks associated with this happening at home. It's indescribable. Like, it's truly indescribable.
You know, Seth, I met Heidi because she was coming to one of my Reassemble retreats. And up until even the day that the retreat was starting, she had texted me and said, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm going to be able to come. And I just told her, I said, if you'll show up, Jesus will show off. Just please, just show up. And she walked in, I'll never forget it, with this attitude. And she looked at me and said, okay, fine, I'm here. And she had said to me on that Thursday night when we started, I don't want to do what you do. I don't ever want to tell anybody my story. But on Sunday, she said, somehow I want to use my son's life to help somebody else so that he won't die in vain. And I told her that's why we all do what we do that speak out. It's so our children don't die in vain. And so I'm really proud of you, Heidi, because I know this is not an easy thing to talk about, but she has done a lot of work with the trauma she's gone through to be able to even speak about it now.
Yep. That's right. So I have a couple thoughts, and I'm grateful, Heidi, for you telling us exactly what happened. I tell people all around this country, in churches, that we are now flushing our children down toilets, and the American sewage system has become the abortion industry's disposal system. That means about 630,000 children like yours, Heidi, about 630,000 babies were likely flushed down the American toilets last year, because the numbers came out recently and there were just over 1 million abortions in 2023. But they also told us that 63% of the abortions last year were the abortion pill. So that comes out to 630,000 children. Now they don't have to pay third-party contractors to come and pick up the babies from the abortion mill, because you finish your abortion on a toilet. If I may, Heidi, and feel free to just tell me no, okay? But I really want people to hear how horrific what is happening in America every day is. We know that it's dangerous to women's health, but if you feel like you'd like to, I would love for you to talk to American women, to young women who believe abortion's health care, who believe it's not a baby, it's not a human, it's just a blob of tissue. Would you like? What would you say to them? Tell them more about what that was like for you. But first, we want to thank our sponsors of the Seth Gruber Show, Every Life Diaper Company. Every Life Diaper. Oh my gosh, what if pro-life Christians, conservatives, people that love the family were as passionate about only supporting businesses that support their values as the left is? Have you noticed this? Like, the left is like, oh my gosh, My Pillow, let's never buy My Pillow. Like, let's never go to Chick-fil-A, because way back when they stood for marriage. Like, if we as Christian, pro-lifer, conservatives would be as unyielding with our dollars to shop in alignment with our values, we could actually change the culture. That's why we support Every Life Diaper. Go to everylife.com to get your diapers at your nursery, at your church, at your pregnancy center. For you as moms and dads having babies, everylife.com, the fastest growing diaper company in America, actually, and the only pro-life diaper company, which means all the other diaper companies, all the major ones, all 8 of the major ones, either rhetorically or financially support the abortion industry. So they're helping kill their clientele base. Actually, they're helping kill the babies who would be wearing their diapers if they weren't supporting their destruction in the womb. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Go to everylife.com, promo code Seth10, promo code Seth10 for 10% off your first order. Shop in alignment with your values. Let's rebuild a culture of life by defunding a culture of death. Thank you, Every Life Diaper.
I have thought about this a lot. Because I wish this is like me speaking to me then, you know? It is a baby. It is a baby from conception, and that baby is a gift from God. And it is scary, especially when it's not planned, right? Like it is unplanned or you're not expecting it, but there are other ways. I can promise you, like, they tell you like it's not going to affect you, but I am here to say, like, 3 years later, I'm still dealing with the trauma from that experience. And it's not something that will ever go away. You know, I can manage it, I can deal with it, but it is something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And I think in those moments of fear and uncertainty, there are people that are there that you can go to, that you can talk to. There are other options. Adoption, what a gift. The last week, actually, I was driving and there was a sign somewhere in Illinois that said, end abortion, adopt instead, or something like that. And it's just, if you don't feel you're equipped to care for a child, there are people that would gladly take your baby into their loving arms. And the trauma that for myself, but also for the millions of people that are going to experience what's a similar experience like mine. Man, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like, I wish I could would have known different, so I could have made a different decision. My life would be very different than it is today. And it's a regret that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. And it can be avoided. It can be avoided.
Seth, I wanted, if it's okay, Heidi, I wanted to say that on the last day of the retreat, Heidi had not told me any of this or our group, but on that Sunday, as we were preparing to leave, she said, I have something I would like to tell all of you. And she had taken a picture of her son before she flushed the toilet. She said something just made her do that. And she said, do you guys, I have it in my phone and I look at him almost every day. And I told her, I said, honey, you've got to, let's do something different with that picture, because I don't want you looking at that every single day and reliving this trauma over and over again. You have been healed. You've been set free by the blood of Christ. So we don't want you to have something that takes you there again. So she sent me the picture and she wanted it off of her phone. And she called me and said, I'm ready to send you the picture. And I just told her, one day God will use that picture to show the truth about what an abortion is, so we can share your son's life with the world, so that they understand that these are not blobs of tissue. These are fully formed little babies. She knew that was her son, and it killed her to have to do what they said to do, just flush the toilet.
Well, Victoria, Heidi, I'm impressed at the courage it takes not only to explain the traumatic horror of looking at your son, Heidi, and man, geez, and having the presence of mind. I mean, I think that was probably the Lord moving in you. To take a picture of your baby before flushing him down the toilet. I think we actually need to talk about it this way, right? I mean, if Victoria knows this about me, I have a kind of take the gloves off approach to the culture war and to protecting children. And this is what's happening. We need to describe what's happening. So as you mentioned earlier, before we were recording, we're going to show this picture of your son, of your baby, on the show right here. We have it here for everyone to see. So if you're listening to this on audio, guys, if you listen to this podcast on audio, you can go to probably Rumble, because they'll probably delete it off of YouTube. And you can see what's happening. This is what's happening to America's unborn children. This is the agenda. It is an agenda of death. It is an agenda of destruction. And it's a very profitable agenda, especially with the overturning of Roe. They can now ship these deadly murderous pills into pro-life states, and make a lot of money doing so. So we have seen exactly, what choice and quote unquote healthcare looks like. And so, Heidi, thank you for showing us and showing everyone listening. Um, wow. Thank you. Heidi, tell us about your journey of healing.
Oh yeah, and
You
I was just gonna say,
go.
Seth, that it's up to Heidi if she'd like to share his first name with you. Do you want to share his first name?
Yeah, the Lord,
You can tell him how that
the
happened.
Lord has just been so faithful in my healing journey. It's pretty wild, actually. His name is Asher. Yeah, and that I've never thought of boy names in my life ever, and in an instant at the retreat, actually, like Eric Gasher was Eric Asher Garrett is the name, and it came to me in an instant. I was like just a sweet hug from the Lord. But healing has been heavy and hard and a lot of work. I'm so blessed. I have an amazing trauma therapist that I've worked with, and she had kind of mentioned to me like you should really try to do some type of retreat. She kept mentioning Rachel's Vineyard, and I was like, not really feeling that. And
it's a great one, but she wasn't feeling.
I wasn't nothing against it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's ever done it. Even I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm not really feeling that. And so I was at a conference at my church, and a speaker was there, and I followed her on Instagram in real time. And a couple weeks later, she had posted something on abortion, and I was like, So I clicked on the post, and Vic had commented like 5 red hearts on the post, and I was like, what's this lady about? So I clicked her, never hearing of you in my life, and I was like, there's no way. And I was reading about Reassemble, and I was like, I gotta call this lady. And we had talked maybe a week later, and she's like, I'm full in my retreat where you're located, but you're coming. Like, you're coming to this retreat. And this was like 6 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day before, I was like, I can't come. I was so nervous. I felt sick. I was like, I can't be there. I can't come. And she's like, just please show up. And so I did. And it's a hard weekend. It's a hard weekend, but there is so much redemption, following the weekend. And I couldn't it's just so cherry picked by God, who has been placed in my life on this healing journey. I couldn't have done it better myself. Like, there's no way. And it's just miraculous. Like, all of the beautiful people that I've met, all of the stories that I've since heard, since I've been willing to be vulnerable about my journey, the freedom that I felt, I don't have to sit in that shame and guilt anymore. Like, I can do something good with what I've been through. And so all the glory goes to God. I mean, there's no other way to describe my healing journey besides the Lord has been so incredibly faithful in my life. And I feel very, very blessed.
Seth, at our Reassemble retreats, we want to give these children that have been aborted the dignity back that the world doesn't give them. So one of the things that I have all of the ladies do, or the men at my men's retreat, and now I'm doing couples retreats, Seth, with couples who've aborted their own children, that already beat the odds by staying together, is naming their children, to give their children dignity. If the children had been born, they would have gotten a name. And so a lot of times these women will look at me, or these men, and go, are you out of your mind? I don't even know the gender of what my child was. Of course, in her situation, she knew, she saw him. But others that have told me that, I've been doing this for 28 years, Seth, and every retreat I've ever done, the Lord reveals the gender to these men and women. It is incredible what happens in these weekends. They are intense and they're hard, and they are hard because you're digging up something that's so traumatic, but it's also necessary. And that's why I tell pastors, Seth, if you're not preaching about abortion, you've got people in your church who've had an abortion who are internalizing that to mean even my own pastor won't speak about it because he even believes that Jesus can't forgive me. Or you've got people in your church who find themselves in unplanned pregnancies believing the lie that abortion is not sin because my pastor doesn't talk about it. So we've got to be talking about this from the church for both of those reasons, because there are so many men and women sitting in churches week after week dying and desperate for someone to tell them there's hope, there's healing, that Jesus loves them. Last thing, Seth, I'll say, as I spoke at this church in February, and the pastor had 3 services, one of the largest churches in North Carolina where I was. And after the 3rd service, when he saw the lines of people after each service coming to my table to talk to me, he had tears in his eyes and said, I had no idea, Victoria, this many people in my church have experienced an abortion in their past. And I said, Pastor, they're in every church in this country. You're just brave enough and willing to let someone like me speak about it. And he said, do whatever it takes, Victoria. Do as many retreats as we need. I want to see my people find healing from this particular sin. Because, Seth, a lot of people believe God will heal all sin except abortion, and that is not true.
Yep. Yeah, well said, Victoria. We've talked about that before. We call it the silence of the shepherds on the abortion of the lambs. In other words, Francis Schaeffer once said that every abortion center ought to have a sign out front that says, open with the permission of the Church of Jesus Christ. We have abdicated our role as the church. Most pastors don't even speak to the issue, much less like talking about like mobilizing your people to go end abortion and be the hands and feet of Jesus. Yeah, right. Most churches don't even talk about it, much less try to like fire their people up to save lives, to protect the unborn, to make this illegal. And so we have a little bit of time left, and I want to respect your guys' time. I want to take maybe a quick little pivot here. And again, I know this is hard stuff, okay? Because I want to expose it, and I want you to be honest, but I also want to be gentle. Victoria and I have had this conversation in a few years back, Victoria. It's been a while, but I believe that abortion should be illegal at the federal level. States should not have the right to determine if babies get to live or die. This was the debate over slavery, remember? It's like some of the Democrats said states should be able to decide. So if one state wants to make it illegal and another wants to make it legal, yay, states should be able to decide if they enslave black people. We're having this debate right now in the Republican Party, unfortunately, which is like, should this be illegal federally, or should we just let every state decide whether babies should be killed or not? So not only do I believe that abortion should be made illegal, I think that there should be actually penalties for killing your babies. Some people think that's extreme. But if we make abortion illegal and we say, but nothing will happen to you if you break the law, we're actually teaching Americans that you can kill your babies and nothing will happen. So what happens when you don't like follow up on laws? Nobody obeys them. It's the same thing with BLM when they were burning down the country, and nobody did anything about it, so they kept doing it. So I want to gently ask this question, and Victoria, we've talked about this in a while back. For both of you, who you're both post-abortive, and now God's using you to heal others and bring others into freedom, would you have gotten abortions if it was illegal and there was criminal prosecution for doing so?
Seth, I'll answer this way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten an abortion if the man I was with had stepped up and done what he should have done. I wouldn't have gotten an abortion if I was lied to at the most vulnerable time of my life and manipulated into believing there was nothing there because I was 6 weeks pregnant, but a blob of tissue or a clump of cells. I would not have gotten an abortion if it were illegal, because I will tell you this. I said to the woman at the abortion clinic in Planned Parenthood in Charlotte, North Carolina, are you sure this is okay? As I'm sobbing and looking at her saying, I have 2 children. I know the outcome of a pregnancy. And she looked at me and said, do you think if this could harm you in any way, our government would allow it to be legal? That's how I'll answer that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. And the reason I say that, guys, and I hope you hear my heart, is because I don't want that to happen to any more babies. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that to happen to any more Heidis. And I think for the most part, some women and men are so driven, right? Do you know what I'm saying? That they would break the law anyways. But most people I talk to, Victoria, and that's why I brought this up, because we've talked about this before. Most people I talk to say, if it was illegal And this was, and like we didn't allow this. I wouldn't have done it.
Oh yeah.
To which I say, then praise God.
Yeah.
If Asher was here, if all these babies were here, look what a joy. And
Yeah.
so like, thank you for like telling the truth, guys, because maybe God will use this to save an Asher, to save babies. And I think that we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg yet onto how God will continue using your testimony and story, Victoria and Heidi, to save babies. God is in the business of taking ashes and turning them into something beautiful. He is in the business of redemption.
Yes.
And we don't know all that he's going to do, but it does require the boldness and courage to not just repent and get healed, but then to say, I'm now going to tell the world. I'm now going to use my voice. And so we're praying over this podcast right now that there would be babies saved as a result of this, and other men and women reaching out to reassemble, to get healed. This is cataclysmic kind of stuff, isn't it? That's why I'm such a supporter of Victoria's ministry. Who knows how this continues to ripple out as God uses healed people to heal people. Amen.
You know, Seth, I had a pastor in one of my men's retreats, and he said on Sunday when we were doing our wrap up, he said, I was in ministry for 22 years. I left the ministry because I felt like a fraud because I had 2 abortions in my past with 2 different women in college. This is why healing is so important. Heidi, your child and my child and the millions of other children, when we speak out, not only don't die in vain, but I know, Seth, after 28 years of being involved in the work I do with pro-life speaking and reassemble, that there are, I don't know how many thousands of children, tens of thousands, I believe, that are alive today because someone heard a story like ours and realized, wait a minute, what was that? They said it wasn't a baby. These women went through it and they're saying it is a baby. So I have no doubt about it, which is why I'm so passionate about Reassemble and the work of any abortion recovery across the country, because I believe it is that critical to healing taking place so that people can start being a voice. The greatest testimony is those of us who've walked through this, and we can tell you the truth.
Yep, that's right. I'm reminded, guys, of Genesis 50, after Joseph, after sold into slavery by his brothers, is now a prince of Egypt, meets his brothers again, and he tells them, Joseph says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, and for the saving of many lives." That's what God wants to do in the church and through your ministry and through you, Heidi, and the people that God will use you to reach now. Is something evil happened, something wicked happened, but God will now use that for good and for the saving of many lives. And so, Heidi, thank you for having the courage to share a pretty brutal, difficult thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Seth. I'm so proud of you. And thanks for all you're doing, Seth. Your voice is great out there.
Yeah.
Just keep it up. Proud
we
to call
gotta
you
work
friend.
together. You know what?
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do, and we need each other. I'm a big believer that a rising tide lifts all boats. Enough of this territorialism and my branding and my lane and my organization. We need to wake up the church so that our organizations are not needed. The local church ought to be doing the work that Victoria is doing through Reassemble. The local church ought to be doing the work that I'm doing through the White Rose Resistance. It's actually a judgment upon the church that our organizations are needed in the first place.
You're absolutely
but
right.
thank you for serving the church, Victoria. Hey, tell us where people can go, okay, Victoria, right now, to connect with your ministry and begin a journey of healing, or to use this as a resource in their local church.
Go to reassemblelife.com. That is my website. You can find me on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, and get in touch with me through there. And I would love to come to your church and speak about this issue. They're sitting in your churches, Pastor. And so many people that are sitting there want to be laymen in the church. They want to get involved in ministries, but they feel like they're not qualified because of this sin. So bring me to your church. Get in touch with me if you need healing. We'll get you in a retreat. I've been training pregnancy centers, Seth, across the country to do reassemble retreats. So now I have partners all over the country. We will find a retreat for you.
Yep. Yep. And this is important, guys, because when you play a part in helping kill a baby, okay, that's what it is. Getting prayed over and saying one prayer might be the beginning, but that's
Correct.
probably not all that needs to be done.
Correct.
And so that's why we love Victoria's ministry. This is not just like, hey, have the elders pray over me after church. All right, yay. It's like, no. There's some discipleship and work that needs to be done. So go to reassemblelife.com, reassemblelife.com. Thank you for joining the show today. Head on over to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. Give the show a rating and review. Hit 5 stars. Go to Rumble. YouTube's trying to digitally assassinate me, okay? They're trying to give me those strikes, and then they'll get rid of the channel forever. So go to Rumble to get the whole show. Subscribe for if I'm ever killed by the YouTube overlords and they kill the podcast. If you want to join the White Rose Resistance, the fastest growing pro-life organization in America, go to thewhiterose.life and sign up as an ally at $35 a month, and you get a battle box in the mail to equip you for this fight, because it's your job as the church. And if you want to host a screening of the 1916 Project, which is only screening in churches right now, it hasn't come out yet, go to the1916project.com, press attend a screening to see one near you, or press host a screening if your pastor has the courage and chest to screen this jaw-dropping, rip-your-face-off, shocking film that exposes the hidden history of the secular moral revolution and the seeds of Planned Parenthood, of how we got to this insane moment in America. Screen it now at your church. Thank you guys for joining the Seth Gruber Show, and we'll see you next week.